Welcome again to class. This is Use of English UTME preparatory classes. Recall that we've done one or two things about stress and syllable previously. This is part 2 of the same lesson. Welcome to class. I am once again Samuel I.K. Emochuogu. Now we've learned quite a lot about stress and syllables as well. Alright, so we're going to start this lesson by first of all reminding you that there are what we call the monosyllabic words, the disyllabic words, which are 2-syllable words, the trisyllable words, 3-syllable word, and of course the polysyllabic words. Alright, now here are a few examples that we have. Now the point we want to learn today is the practicals. How do we stress a particular syllable within this syllables? Okay, for instance, communication. How do we stress it? Because one of these syllables here must be stressed. Okay, so in this case, for instance, we should have this particular syllable stressed in the words communication. Now, having reminded ourselves of syllables and stress again, it's important we get straight to the point. Now, when we talk about the concept of 2-syllable words, let's take a look at this. For instance, first, let's quickly review the stress syllables here. Before we talk about the stress syllable, let's talk about the syllables of these words here. So in number 1, we have cat. How many syllables do we have there? Cat. It is pronounced that it's stretched. So option C should be the answer. Number 2, want. It is a monosyllabic word, so option C should be the answer. Watches. The addition of the plural marker es makes it a 2-syllable word, so option B should be the correct answer. And then number 4, educate. You have 3-syllable words there, so option C should be correct. Now, having reminded ourselves of the stress of syllables here, now let's quickly take a look at this lesson proper. We're looking at the stress rule for 2-syllable words. So number 1, it's important to note that 2-syllable words or more will always carry stress, and stress, like we know, is the greater force used in the pronunciation of a particular syllable. So note that the placement of stress is a very complex one, and of course it is irregular in English. Therefore, here are some rules we'll be able to point out to aid you properly in the course of these exams. Number 1, if a word comprises 2 syllables, then the first syllable is usually stressed. For example, when you have something like this 2-syllable word, you have teacher, doctor, hostel, cover, party, window, and of course madam. So when you have 2-syllable word, generally, that is a general rule, the first syllable is usually stressed. However, rule 2, if the first syllable is a prefix, then the second syllable attracts the stress. Let's take a look at this example. Rule 2, you have unless, below, and true, today, defeat. So you realize that the second syllable actually carries the stress or attracts the stress. Look at rule 3. Where a verb of 2 syllables ends in AT, okay, the AT is actually stressed. Now take a look at this rule. Here are a few examples. Collate. So this is a verb. They are all verbs that end with ATE. Okay, so the rule is that once it is a verb, 2-syllable verb that ends with ATE, then of course the ATE carries the stress. So collate, sedate, cremate, berate, okay, and so on and so forth. You have the dates, you have berate, state. I've just repeated some of them. Okay, now quickly we'll look at the next rule now. Again, for 2-syllable word, very important. Now let's quickly take a look at this question. What should be the correct answer here? The correct answer from what we've seen here in number 1 should be about. Why? Because it begins with schwa. So option B is actually correct here. Now, number 2, 14. We'll have 2-syllable word ending with T-E-E-N. Obviously, the second syllable attracts the stress. Here is the name of a person, so the first syllable usually attracts the stress. So we have Clement. We have Clement, option A. And then doctor, since we have a schwa as the final syllable there, we should have option A as the appropriate answer. No, option B rather as the appropriate answer. If you take a look at A and B, they look alike, so always observe that. Now let's take a look at the rule governing this. Number 1, it's important to look at this rule. Right, so we'll look at rule 3. Vowel number 12 is usually the vowel known as schwa. It's always a weak sound. And so when it begins 2-syllable words, then the second part attracts the stress. So look at that, apart, above, and of course about. All right, that should be about, not above. Okay, now the next rule, rule 4, has it that where you have these words that end in teen, from 13 to 19, stress the particular number that ends with teen. And here are a few examples: 17, 16, 15. Please take note. And then rule 5, in disyllabic word, that is 2-syllable word again. All right, in 2-syllable word ending again in nouns associated with names of persons, oftentimes the first syllable is stressed. So here is the rule. Take a look at this: Joseph, Patrick, Alice. All right, on this note, we shall call it a day again. Bye for now. All right, thank you. I am once again Sam IK. See you in the next part. Bye.